What is up, dudes and dudettes of the internet? My name's Scythe, and today we just actually hit 50,000 subscribers, which is insane because just last month we hit 40K, and now already within this month, I think it was like at the start of the month was at 45K, and we actually got 5,000 new subscribers within like a 30-day period, and even less. Now, excuse the quality of the audio and stuff like that. I'm actually just recording this off of my camera that I end up using because I wanted to show you all my setup and stuff like that, because it's changed quite a bit since my last video. Not gonna be doing a Q&A. I know lots of people were actually asking me to do something like that, and I'm sorry to say that right now I don't have the time for it. And I don't have any method of actually getting questions, you know, outside of my Twitter, which not many people are on my Twitter. But either way, so I kind of can't really go as far as I would like, just because I have this plugged in right now. Like, I have it on a cord rather than using a battery, so I can use it forever, right? This is what we set up. My dad ended up helping me out with this. This was the foam that I had kind of on the wall in this corner a lot, but I just moved all of it to the ceiling, and around me, this is pretty much the best sound that I can get right now, but this is all like paint tarps. So you kind of see this little string right there. That's because this would actually just fold up, and that string would actually wrap around it and hold it, kind of similar to what's going on right here with this one. But otherwise, I just go on the other side, untug it, and then it just falls right down. However, my camera is actually normally looking at me like right over here, and that's perfectly where both of the cloths gape open. And I mean, look at it. It's an ugly background. So instead, I actually have just over there is my sorry, I can't really go over there, but that's like my homemade green screen, and I actually just threw a sheet over it, so I don't really have a fancy background or anything. The green screen itself, I actually just made like, out of all the green screens that I've ever used, like I used ones that I've ordered online for convenience's sake and stuff like that. There's foldable ones and stuff like that. Honestly, everybody, I ended up making that green screen like a couple years back just from like some cardboard and construction paper that I bought from Walmart for like under 20 bucks. So you can make a function, and it's actually the best green screen I've ever had. Even all the other ones that I order online, they're all like tarps and stuff like that. And it's like, dude, unless you have the place that you can set all of that up, seriously, it's better to go the cheaper way, right? And then, I mean, all of this stuff too, you gotta understand that I gathered like over the years. Here's my lighting setup, same as it's been for quite some time. Both lights on the left and right. However, I barely ever use these. I only ever use this one while streaming because I need it to cascade light onto the green screen that's behind me for the chroma key effect, which is when the background goes invisible. Otherwise, I only ever have this light on. And as you can kind of see, just to get an idea about the brightness, like this is why. That's why I don't ever have these lights on, because otherwise it's blinding and it hurts my skin. And then I've got kind of like, this is just my little setup right here with a couple things, just a couple wardrobe changes and stuff like that. We'll talk about more of this stuff in a minute, but otherwise just here's my chair. It's a Herman Miller one. Very expensive chair, very, very expensive, but I'm so glad that I was able to actually afford this thanks to all of you from watching the videos and stuff like that, because straight up, like, this is my career, and I actually, like, behind the scenes, I spend about 99% of my days just sitting behind the computer, so it pays to have a really good chair, because otherwise my back was going out of place and all sorts of stuff, and it's not a good time, you know. And the only times that I ever actually get out of the house is when I force myself to go for a walk just because I want exercise and stuff, you know. Otherwise, I've been working harder than I ever have in my entire YouTube career lately, just because of the amount of time that I've been spending on my thumbnails and stuff like that, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Because as for my setup, this is just a generic Microsoft keyboard from a million years ago. I actually have to get a new one, but unfortunately, this one doesn't exist anymore. It's not made anymore, which sucks, because it's the best keyboard I've ever had, and unfortunately in the videos, I can really hear when I mash the spacebar and stuff like that. This is my computer. It's a fridge. This is a custom computer I built a couple years back when YouTube was just starting to I won't say it was taking off. It was just starting to actually, like, I was actually starting to earn money, and it took me like a couple months to actually pay off this beast, but I do not regret it. Unfortunately, with the way things are going, I may end up having to upgrade a couple things in it very soon, but until then, it's all fine. That's just a printer that the whole family uses. It's not really like I don't use it myself. And then my mouse, the one that I'm using is just, this is just some generic Logitech one. It's a wireless mouse this time, and it's had some drawbacks so far. I don't like that wireless is dependent on batteries. This one's actually pretty efficient. However, in all honesty, like, this one's not a bad mouse, don't get me wrong. But if you're gonna go for a wireless mouse, I would not recommend Logitech, because theirs are really unstable and kind of stupid, honestly. Like this one, every now and then, like if I'm rendering stuff in the background, it's like there's enough computer resources taken that this thing starts lagging, and it's like, that doesn't work for a mouse. Otherwise, this is the same desk that I've been using years ago that my dad ended up making. However, you can see we kind of just cut it in half, and the rest of it's over on the yonder side with the other computers and stuff like that. And then actually behind this tarp right here is the TV. So we kind of pull that out, and then, you know, I go on the couch and watch like YouTube videos and stuff like that, my dad's guitar, and then our beautiful router and stuff like that. Oh, our new internet is amazing. Seriously, I love it. It's the best I've ever had. And then as far as the rest of my setup goes, just a standard tripod. The one thing that I love about this tripod, I just bought it from Walmart. The thing that I love about is that this right here actually is the stand that this computer goes on, and you can actually just turn this and like detach the computer from the tripod without having to like unscrew it and be like really annoying and stupid like that, right? And then of course, you know, just very basic, like, yeah, you know, work on my wrist exercises and stuff because I'm on the computer like all the time. Clock, standard computer or standard speakers that I just bought from Walmart. These are like 20 bucks or something like that. Those are the ones that I've been using for years, and kind of a rule of thumb, because I used to be a musician way back in the day. I still play music, but this is my living now, so this is what I focus all my attention on. And anyways, one thing that I took from music is a friend of mine who is a producer always said, if you can get something to sound good on bad speakers, you know you got something good. So that's why I use those forever. And I actually need to get some new ones because I'm noticing like issues with the connectivity of them and stuff. This is how I keep track of like just, you know, taxes and generic stuff like that, as well as just releases of videos and everything like that. Outside of just like, you can't really see it based on the camera angle, but this is actually, I'm on the page of the Google Calendar, which I use like extensively just to kind of keep track of my videos. However, I really, really wish that Google would make this in sync with scheduled uploads on YouTube so that you could actually see in real time like when a video is still private and stuff like that, because otherwise it's a mind game. It took me a long time to get to this point. Then two standard monitors. This one's my old 1080p one, and this one I got because it was 4K. And I want to say this in passing, everybody, don't bother getting a 4K monitor. It's a waste of money. Because even though I love this monitor and it's beautiful, don't get me wrong, I didn't realize that most everything in the world actually doesn't work on 4K yet, including standard browsers, and even Windows barely actually runs on 4K resolution, because otherwise, like when I got this thing and I was setting it all up, it just, all the icons were like microscopic and you couldn't see anything. It's ridiculous, let alone like all the browsers and stuff like that. Like seriously, it's really, really bad. And then games in general, it takes way too much resource because games aren't optimized for 4K resolutions. And fun fact, everybody, if you go and buy those new video cards that they're talking about, where it's like, you can run this game at 4K resolution. Yeah, you might be able to run the game. You're not gonna have steady frame rate. That's just a fun fact on the side. I've got some decent video cards. And then this actually I ordered online. This is just a generic garbage boom mic arm, which is fantastic. I love getting this thing because now I have the free reign to have like the mic out of my way. Now, the next step would be getting a better version, which I don't really know where I can find one online because shopping online is so difficult because you can't actually trial stuff. But I've had mics, boom arms that I've messed with in studios that I like more than this one, because this one pretty much is just, that's it. It comes out, and it goes in, comes out, goes in, and that's it. Doesn't swivel or anything like that. You can, of course, loosen it so that it would swivel, but I like having my mic at a very specific angle. And then in general, the other boom arm I'm talking about actually let you like adjust it in all sorts of crazy different ways, and it was great, right? The mic that I'm using is actually the first microphone I've ever had. It's the same one that I did my first videos on, which is the Apex 430. I think that's the number after it or something like that. I'm not sure. I've tried all sorts of different mics, like seriously, so many different microphones, and in all honesty, I always keep coming back to this one because of the specific setup that I have with this monster. This is what makes my voice sound as close to what it sounds like realistically, while also being able to have like just kind of basic like boosts of bass and stuff like that, right? So this is the LA610 Mark II. Very expensive piece of hardware, but what it initially does is if you record YouTube videos and stuff like that, eventually you'll probably get to the point where you're recording your audio like through Audacity or something like that, and you'll start throwing it through some basic effects, you know, trying to get rid of like background noise and stuff like that, which I wouldn't recommend because it actually removes a bunch of frequencies from your voice as well, but mostly because you'll be kind of tinkering with the bass and the high end and cutting off the high end a little bit and stuff like that. That's what this thing does in real time. That's why that thing's a monster, because efficiency is one of the things that I am all about, and the fact of the matter is that with this thing I can just record videos without having to focus on any of all of that other garbage and balancing and stuff. And then of course there's just the Scarlett Solo right there, which converts an XLR cable, which is what most standard mics using, that actually converts it into USB. So I would actually recommend getting one of these and getting yourself a better mic than all that Blue Yeti garbage and stuff like that, which don't get me wrong, the Blue Yeti is actually a fantastic mic, but once you get to all the Blue Bluebird and all that junk, those ones suck. Like seriously, stay away from them. And as far as the Shure mics are concerned too, those ones are really, really good. But again, because of my specific setup, all of those microphones, none of them could handle this monster. None of them. They all sucked. But this old microphone can handle it just fine. Now that's of course just because of very specific setups and stuff like that and blah blah blah. Who cares? Then the headphones that I use are just these generic Sony ones. I don't like the Sony logo though, so I just painted over them with like a black mesh. And I need to get better headphones in all honesty, but these ones are the most comfortable. Not to mention for myself personally, I don't really like a lot of bass. Like, I'm just that type of guy, I really don't. And I like these headphones because they don't really have that much bass to them, so it doesn't really hurt my ears as much. However, like, I'm more used to not using headphones. Like, standard, when I'm playing games and just hanging out with people and stuff like that, I don't actually use headphones. I only use headphones pretty much exclusively when I'm recording and stuff like that. So down the line, I would like to end up hopefully finding better ones that were a bit more comfortable for me. I've gone through all sorts of different headphones and stuff like that. Mostly the reason that they're uncomfortable is because of my ear piercings and stuff like that, right? And then we've got just a generic, like this is the webcam that I use for streaming and stuff like that, because otherwise in the videos I use this piece right here, which this one is a Canon Rebel T5i, so it's a bit of a pricier camera and probably way overboard for something that I'm doing. But in all honesty, like out of everything that I've seen online, it's one thing that I would complain about everybody with all of this YouTube stuff is it's become so, like, YouTube itself, YouTubers, Let's Players and stuff like that, it's become so overly saturated that finding good information is very, very undependable and unreliable. Even finding stuff about like all the top YouTubers and stuff like that, you know, chances are that's most of the stuff that's gonna show up, and usually it's old information with gear that they've moved on from. And then in general, some of the stuff that they use is pretty bad, man. Like, in all honesty. So anyway, this is pretty much the top webcam recommended by everybody. It even says how, like, most of the customer reviews are talking about how this one's like really, really good for, you know, Let's Plays and stuff like that. However, that beast does not go in 60 frames per second. it only goes in 30. You've seen my streams, it's bad. So that was the biggest reason why I needed this camera, this monster, was because not only does it have a crystal clear view, however, it doesn't deal with darkness very well, which sucks because I'm a vampire and light hurts me, but the fact of the matter is that this thing is beautiful and can shoot in 60 frames. Now, what this thing is actually recording is videos at 1080p, and then I crush those down and throw my face into the tiniest corner you've ever seen. So there's quite a bit of a process, everybody, and in all honesty, I'm very, very happy and extremely satisfied that we've gotten to 50,000 subscribers. Like, seriously, thank you all so much from the bottom of my heart. I love all of you to death for giving me the opportunity to actually do YouTube as a living. It's not the most lucrative living, I'll admit that, you know, but come on. I mean, YouTube paid for all of this. Granted, I've been doing YouTube for how long? Like, how many years? And only since my Trove series, honestly. Well, and I guess with the Mario series, like way back in the day, but we didn't really know how to capitalize on that. But anyway, those were pretty much the only times where the channel actually ended up spiking and getting people involved, you know? Because otherwise, it was a very small community, and we've slowly been turning into an even bigger community. And in all honesty, everybody, I gotta say, like, one of the things that I've said in every single one of these videos, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart, is you all surprised me, like, seriously, because when I started out on YouTube, I thought it was gonna be the same as it is with everybody, and just the same as it's always been with the internet and stuff like that. I thought that there was gonna be a lot of negativity, I thought there was gonna be a lot of hate, you know, and I thought that it was gonna be a very tough road. And it hasn't been. And I know that that's mostly due to all of you just being like such awesome people. Like, seriously, I don't even know how, you know? Because it's like, hate comments? What hate comments, you know? And even with people in game and stuff like that, like, it's like every single one of you is just so friendly, and it's amazing, you know? It really just surprised me. And it still does from this day on, because, you know, 50,000 subscribers and we barely have a toxic community at all. There's nobody in here that's toxic, you know? And that's pretty crazy, honestly. So anyway, here's to 50K, everybody. Thank you all so much for getting me up to this point. Next will be, I guess the next big numbers that I would have in my brain would be 80K and then 100K. But I'll probably just do another video at 60K or something like that, unless it like just explodes like crazy. But either way, thank you all so much from the bottom of my heart. You all rock, stay epic as you always have been, and sayonara.